Hello and welcome to 10 Ways to Weather the Storm. This is your host, Corrine Kircher, and I will be with you for night 7 in this lesson. Tonight's lesson is entitled Being Gracious for Help. So when you are offered help in the midst of a crisis you are experiencing in your life, your career, or business, how do you tend to respond? When someone gives you a compliment, how do you tend to respond? Do you accept it gracefully, or do you shoo it away because you're embarrassed to receive it, or you feel you're not worthy of it, even if the other person may think you're quite worthy of that compliment? A lot of people are truly uncomfortable with it. But that is just one way to illustrate how some people are when it comes to receiving help. If you have trouble accepting just a compliment, chances are you may also have trouble accepting help. And when the storms of life come, we are not there to bear all the burdens by ourselves. That's why we have each other. That's why we have people. That's why we have different people in our lives, because they are there for different reasons, and they can help us in different ways without us feeling overburdened when we are the ones helping other people, and so that other people do not feel burdened when it is their turn to help their fellow man in their time of crisis. As usual, I am asking you to have a pen and paper ready so that you can take some notes on these questions that I will give you as food for thought. So the background, if you did not start from the beginning, the background of the series of lessons, it's biblical in nature, but there are so many lessons to be taken away from there, even if you're not religious at all, that I wanted to share this. So the background is in Acts 27 and 28, where the Apostle Paul was being taken. He was actually a prisoner. He was being taken to another location, and he happened to be in a ship with a lot of other people who were also prisoners, but also people who were just going about their business. They were merchants, and they were there to go take care of their business. And that's how those people made money. So all of those different people were on the ship together. So in the course of life, you can find yourself, associated with people who have really nothing much to do with you except that you happen to be in the same boat of life. And there can be storms and shipwrecks sometimes. And how do you react? What lessons can you take and can you digest? And can you apply to your life a little bit at a time? When you are in crisis, it is easy to feel overwhelmed even by the simplest things. So this is why this series is broken up in 10 lessons. And the goal is to give you enough food for thought every night so that you can choose one. You don't have to do all of them. Just choose one and pursue that for the next 24 hours until we meet again. So let's get to the first part of being gracious when you are offered help. Maybe you may want to jot down this question, and then really, really give it some thought. And the first question is, do you feel it is okay for you to help other people? And then, do you feel unworthy of receiving help? So the question is, do you feel it's okay for you to help other people, but that you are unworthy of receiving help? A lot of people have negative self-talk. Actually, everybody has some measure of negative self-talk, but for some people it goes really, really deep. In the case you are having a storm, a crisis in your life, it can get even worse. So for people who have, I guess what I would say, a normal amount of it, they can usually shoo away those thoughts. But then in times of crisis, you are blaming yourself for the situation, for not doing better, for not feeling better, for feeling down, etc. And then you don't feel worthy of accepting help. You probably would be the first person to go help someone else, and yet you don't accept the help yourself. So consider why you may think that way. Now, how about the next question? How do you react when someone offers to do something for you without expecting something in return? In this day and age, we are used to the concept of give and take, and a lot of people expect to give, but a lot of people expect to take. But I read something today which really gave me a very nice perspective on this, and I wanted to incorporate that into the lesson, which is instead of thinking of relationships as give and take, thinking of it as giving and getting. Taking sounds almost as if you're taking advantage, and that's not really what relationships are all about. Relationships are about giving and getting. So the more you give, the more you get, in most circumstances, in good circumstances. So really consider the second question, which is, how do you react, or how would you react if somebody offers to do something for you and they don't want you to pay them back in any other way? Do you feel obligated to some way, somehow, repay the person for a favor that they have done you? Now, I'll admit, I actually had a problem with this because I used to feel that somebody could hold something over me by doing me a favor and say, oh, I did such and such for you. But really, we don't have to be that, we don't have to take it with such a hard light. You can definitely, when God sends you help in one form or another, accept it and be gracious for it, because it gives other people pleasure to be able to do something for you, just as it gives you pleasure to be able to do something for someone without necessarily expecting anything in return, right? Because if you go out of your way to do something for someone and you do it in the spirit of, just paying it forward, and then that person is hell-bent on paying you back, how does that make you feel? It's almost as if they're returning your gift to you, right? So the same way, if you are offered help, be gracious for the help. We already talked about receiving compliments, and really this is something that we have to accept. Humility does have its place, but sometimes false humility does not do anything but set you back. So, for example, if somebody offers you a compliment, there's nothing wrong with saying, thank you very much. You can accept the compliment and believe you deserve the compliment without necessarily trying to push it off. So again, this is something we talked about before, but I just wanted to mention that a little bit. So, it is really important for you to watch out for your ego, because a lot of times in life we get through difficult situations with a little help from our friends, right, as the saying goes, as the song goes. And it is really important for us to be able to continually put ourselves in a position to both give and get, to give and to receive. And finally, the last thing you might want to think about is how important it is that you have an opportunity now to pay it forward, because in life, God will surprise you. Perhaps it's not the person or the people or the organization or group that you think who would come to help you that is actually the one who helps you. It could be something or someone totally different. There's a passage in the Bible that I really love, and it says that God will not give his honor to anyone else. So sometimes people may feel, if they're not really doing things with the right spirit, they may do something to you, do something for you out of their ego in order to say, I did such and such, in order to elevate themselves. Well, guess what? Sometimes those same people will not be available. Sometimes, God will allow something to happen for you on your behalf without those people being remotely involved. And what happens ends up being much better than you could have imagined. So really leave room in life for God to surprise you. And always be gracious when someone offers you help, because this is the same spirit in which you would want for someone to receive your help. So we'll talk again in 24 hours for lesson number 8.